Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the next installment of the CAN series that we call the Expanding Opportunity Forum. And I'm Raul Alvarez, Executive Director for CAN, and I'm joined by Jelena Tunstall, our Programming and Operations Coordinator, as well as Carlos Soto, our Research Planning and Evaluation Specialists. And we are a mighty team of three people, and everything involves all three of us. So I most certainly like to thank them for making this forum possible today because it's everything's a team effort here, as you know, with very small organizations. And a little bit about Community Advancement Network. This we celebrated our 30th anniversary last year, and we're a network of 26 government and nonprofit organizations who work collaboratively to kind of assess community well-being and where maybe things aren't trending in the right direction, trying to look at ways to work together to address those challenges in a way that leverages resources, right, and aligns efforts. So that's the spirit in which we come together as a network. And one arena we've been looking at is kind of economic opportunity and economic mobility, and that's one of the focus areas for our expanding opportunity forums. And this year specifically, we're going to be focusing in on earn and learn opportunities, paid apprenticeships and other kind of opportunities where you get training and you're also getting paid right while you go through that process. And This series of forums began in 2021, as a follow-up to our Expanding Opportunity Regional Summit that took place in 2021. And we hold our Expanding Opportunity Regional Summit every 2 years. And our Expanding Opportunity Forums have become a tool to take a deeper dive into issues that emerge during our summits, during which you don't always have time and expertise present to address important questions that arise. So it's been a great tool to really kind of dig deeper into some of these challenges, but also the opportunities that exist to address those challenges. And the theme of our most recent Expanding Opportunity Summit was the power and potential of earn and learn programs. Last year, CAN partnered with Young Invincibles to hold the latest installment of Expanding Opportunity Forum in the fall. And that forum highlighted the findings of a report that Young Invincibles published about how changing the narratives around apprenticeships can help draw interest in such programs across a broader and more diverse segment of the population. So check out that report if you haven't had a chance to. And this year, the focus of our Expanding Opportunity Forums will be to highlight earn and learn programs in high demand and high need industries as a way of raising awareness about these programs, highlighting best practices, and steering interested community members in the right direction if they'd like to connect with these kind of workforce training opportunities. So that's really the focus of today's forum, and the particular earn and learn opportunity that we'll be highlighting is in advanced manufacturing, and it's called CNC Machinists. And I'm very excited to be a part of this forum as well as to learn more about this amazing program. What does a CNC machinist do, and what does training look like, and what will I be doing? Um, and again, and to thanks to all our panelists and the Earn and Learn work group that we have that helped put together this in a kind of a concentrated and collaborative way. And before moving on to the main act, which is our panel, that has a great knowledge and expertise on this uh, apprenticeship opportunity, I'd like to take a moment to share some information about CAN tools that we have developed to better understand what it means to take on the issue of expanding economic opportunity. And if we go to the next slide, CAN just published last week our first edition of an economic mobility report. And you can find that in the link. I think Jelena will be sharing a link in the chat. And so this just was published last week and really looks at educational and economic indicators in a way that we will, again, that hopefully helps us look at or find levers for how we address some of the barriers and identify key arenas on which to focus to expand opportunity. And we'll go real quickly to the sections of the report. We're not going to share any data or charts because otherwise I'll take up the whole hour doing that. But we have a section on demographics, kind of looking at population and kind of how things look in our community in terms of poverty and child poverty in particular. And the next section is on economic security. So we look more at the housing cost burden, but also the ALICE indicator, which is more and more talked about, but that ALICE means asset limited income constraint employed families and their ability to meet kind of either a survivability budget or financially sustainable budget. The next section in that report looks at education. So it's from kindergarten readiness sort of all the way to post-secondary completion, including also looking at opportunity youth and college, career, and military readiness. The next section is on employment. So this is a little more typical, right? Usually you look at unemployment, but we also look at what's happening in terms of labor participation, right? So it's kind of, I don't know if it's the opposite side of the coin, but it's definitely related to unemployment, but it's interesting to see them side by side. And the next section is on income. So looking at more income inequality, um, including affordability of homes, affordability of rental housing, sort of how does income allow us uh, to meet the needs of our families. And the interesting thing about the report is we don't just we do have the local data for Travis County, but we also have data for the MSA, the state, the US, other cities in Texas. So you're able to compare sort of economic opportunities sort of across jurisdictions, which is exciting and just to see how we compare. The next section is on wealth and debt. So sort of income inequality and wealth inequalities kind of different, even though they kind of get lumped together. But we do look at kind of wealth building opportunities sort of independently of sort of what's happening with median income and also business ownership and debt, because all of these things kind of limit your ability to advance in a way that you want right, in terms of um, employment and in terms of meeting your life goals. And then the last thing, the last two I'll mention, if you can go to the next slide, is a framework. In 2024 is when we had our last Expanding Opportunity Regional Summit. And like I mentioned, the whole focus of that summit was the power and potential of earn and learn programs. And out of that, all of what the speakers shared, right, during that summit, there was quite a few. We put together kind of the what are the best practices or some of the things that have helped, some of these nonprofits and other workforce development providers in terms of uh, managing successful earn and learn systems. And so we go to the next slide. So we definitely came up with kind of this drawing that kind of uh, draws from a lot of the expertise that was shared at the summit and looking at, okay, what are some of the helpful elements? Some programs make it work without all these elements, but some of it is kind of how do you do your outreach to make sure kind of we're reaching underserved populations. And you have a series of several different workplace training sort of opportunities. One is about just kind of navigating a professional workplace, HR, finance, et cetera. And the other one is more the make sure I get it right, like the career ready competencies, like career and self development, communication, critical thinking, some of those kind of training opportunities. Then you have the technical training, right, which is something we always focus on, right? If you're trying to work in a particular industry, you have to have specific training for that. Some programs offer mentoring, right, so that once an individual is going through whether it's the training part or learning on at a work site, sort of is there a mentor to help navigate issues as they arise, helping to train supervisors or supporting right the company right that's hosting the apprentice, right, you got to do some work on that end too, right, to make sure that issues and challenges that arise are handled, in a way that is predictable and that apprentices have support in that work site. And the last part is a shared commitment to successful outcomes, and that means we can't just lean on the the employer to do everything, right? And we can't just lean on government or the public sector to do everything. Um, and philanthropy has a role too to play here. So really, I think if in terms of creating a system where we better support and promote these kind of opportunities, it seems like bringing together philanthropy and public and private sector can help us create a more robust system, right? That leads to better outcomes. And today, again, we're going to be looking at the specific earn and learn opportunity in advanced manufacturing, CNC machinists, um, and excited to learn what that is and how this emerged, right, as a collaborative effort that has helped us, right, meet this particular workforce need. And so that's and we, I think, do have a website for our Central Texas Regional Summit, the Expanding Opportunity Summit. And I think that will be placed in the chat as well. But that's where you can find a lot of these documents that I mentioned that we have used to create the framework, but also to inform this follow series of follow-up forums, right, to that summit. And so thank you for letting us talk a little bit about sort of the background, but it kind of also helps us think about, as we hear of this particular opportunity, sort of how it materialized, sort of what it looks like now on the ground, and sort of what elements, have been incorporated right into this efforts to ensure success, right? And I think that's the framework we developed gives us kind of a lens through which to look at these programs individually and then see what we can learn or maybe what might be missing, from that framework. So we'll move on to our panel. Thank you again for letting me share a little bit about CAN and something that, again, where we're trying to learn from people who have expertise, right, and who work on the ground on these issues and not just rely on just the limited knowledge that we might have as individuals. So our panel today, very excited to introduce from Austin Community College, which is one of our CAN partners. In fact, our chair this year is from Austin Community College, Dr. Chris Servini. So, and but helping us out from ACC, they're very helpful in putting together this series of forums. We have Ashley Congdon Fuller, and she is a program coordinator with A&E CAD with over 25 years at ACC. She brings a wealth of experience as both an alum and leader in A&E CAD department. After earning associates in engineering design from ACC and a BFA from UT, Ashley returned to ACC to support student success. As program coordinator, she oversees continuing education CAD courses, manages department funds, coordinates events and outreach, and maintains strong connections with industry partners. Her work ensures that students are well prepared for careers through robust curriculum, hands-on support, and employer engagement. So thank you, Ashley, for getting back to the ACC mission, which I think is just an incredible institution that does so much good in so many different ways. And this is just one more example. So thanks for being a part of this forum. And then we have Amber Warren, who's with Workforce Solutions Capital Area, who is also a CAN partner. So thank you both for being CAN partners for many, many years, several decades. And so Amber is a workforce development professional with over 15 years of experience and a first-generation college grad from University of Arizona. I don't know if you say U of A, but I almost did. But as the Senior Director of Business Engagement for Workforce Solutions Capital Area, she excels in shaping strategic partnerships between local businesses, educational institutions, and community-based organizations. So she's exactly the right person to help us understand how did this come together. It's very exciting. But there's a lot of moving parts, and we need folks who can see how those parts can fit together. But her expertise is in establishing talent pipelines through industry partnerships, work-based learning, apprenticeships, and upskilling strategies. And Amber is a passionate advocate for lifelong learning and community collaboration, driving initiatives to support underserved populations and meet local industry demands. I want to work with you. Great work that you're doing over there. And then Dulce Grumwell, glad to have her on a panel. She has served on our CAN Community Council. We have an advisory board that advises the CAN board, and Dulce has served on it for a long time. And Dulce is the South Central Texas site director at Skill Point Alliance, and that's a nonprofit workforce development organization dedicated to providing tuition-free, fast-track training pathways into skilled trades and manufacturing careers. With more than 5 years at Skill Point, Dulce has played a key role in building and strengthening manufacturing employer partnerships that support career pathways for Skill Point students. In her current role, she leads tuition-free manufacturing across New Braunfels and Seguin, focusing on employer engagement, regional growth, and student success. She is passionate about building employer partnerships and helping people meet or start meaningful long-term careers. So we have just the right folks for this conversation. Now, unfortunately, Michael got pulled away at the last minute. So he won't be able to join us, but we have scheduled a session with him to get the employer perspective, right, on this kind of partnership, on how this apprenticeship or earn and learn opportunity has helped them at Athena. And so when you get the video for this panel, right, we're going to splice in the employer perspective because it is an important perspective. And so you'll have to come back and look at the complete video to get the full story. But I think we're going to get a great insight into that as we continue to move forward. So thank you for that. A lot of background, but it's our first expanding opportunity on Earn and Learn program. So we're just kind of excited to kind of set the stage. So, what is this about? Who's CAN? Why are they doing it? And why should I be interested, right, in this particular topic? But first of all, we wanted to start with kind of background on CNC machinists. And this is for probably Amber and Ashley, but do feel free to chime in if you see this is kind of how we fit into kind of how this got started. But first, what is a CNC machinist? What kind of work do they do, and how much does a CNC machinist make on average, if that's something that's known to you all? So I don't know, maybe we start there just so to set the stage for what is this opportunity, and if I were to go through a training program for this kind of, what does that look like, and what would I be doing? So I don't know if Ashley or Amber, which one's best to do that, because I know you all have both been involved with this kind of process for quite a long time.
I can kick it off, and then Ashley, if you want to add to what I share. But yeah, the CNC machinists, really, CNC is computer numerical control machines. So looking at, CNC machines being mills and lathes, if you look those up, and being able to operate them to build things. So it's a part in like a lot of manufacturers' work. As Raul mentioned, Athena has been an employer and partner of the CNC machinist program, or machine operator, really. We saw a high demand for this role, working closely with our industry sector partnership for manufacturing with ARMA, the Austin Regional Manufacturers Association. A lot of companies were coming up and saying, we don't have a lot of machine operators, which is really like the starting point, even before the machinists, of understanding the manual work behind these CNC machines, understanding like what goes into it before they move into the programming aspect of being a machinist. So we saw this need, they needed to have that foundation before being able to upskill and really be a comprehensive CNC machinist. So we built out working with Austin Community College, the CNC machine operator apprenticeship as this
Mm.
entry level point for people to get that understanding of what these machines are, how to use them, how to operate them. Additional, like math and components that go behind that. Ashley can dive into those details, and made sure that that curriculum aligned with what our employers' skill sets were needed. Making sure that, if somebody came out of this program, they could be hired into your workforce at an entry level role and then be able to continue to learn and grow into higher levels of CNC machining. Ashley, would you add anything to that?
Thank you, Amber. I would say Amber kind of covered it. Basically, there was a need in our community for training for machinists. At this point, up until we started our program, there was nowhere in Austin that was teaching these classes. You had to go to TSTC to get, that's the closest other place you could go. So there was a need. So we kind of, ARMA, the community came to Workforce Solutions, worked together, brought in ACC. Originally, they got grant funding to pay for employers to send their employees, their new hires to our program for the initial training. And we've functioned like that. I think it was for like 2 or 3 years. And then starting this past spring last year, we opened it up to open enrollment students. So you don't have to be employed and working for a company to start our program. And we have been working with Skill Point Alliance. They have a really great program that we consider kind of a pre-apprenticeship. We encourage people to go through the Skill Point Alliance program. It's a nice kind of entry. It's not required, but we do encourage people to go. It's a nice kind of entry program into our apprenticeship or our CNC program. So at this point, we have employers who send their employees to us as registered apprentices, and there's still grant funding to cover the tuition for that. And we also have open enrollment, so anybody can register for these programs. We actually had a class that started last week. It's a 6-month program. So the class started last Tuesday and it goes through June, and we'll have another cohort starting. We're actually going to offer Tuesday, Thursday. The class is Tuesday, Thursday mornings, 8 to 12. And we'll have another session starting in July. We're hoping to do a weekend. We actually had a weekend on the books, but we fell short on student enrollments. So we're trying to build it up again. We had to cancel that
Mm.
class, but we're hoping to, hopefully soon we'll have a weekend class, either a Friday, Saturday or a Saturday, Sunday coming in the next month or so, hopefully, if we can fill the seats for it. Daniel, the
Wow.
instructor, that CNC class is going on right now, 8 to 12. So Daniel, the instructor, is supposed to join us at noon. So he can kind of dive deep if anybody has questions about the actual program. He's a machinist, long time machinist, and has been teaching this program for us, I think for two or 3 years now. He's been the instructor for it. Yeah, so we're really excited about the program. We're excited to watch it grow. And every person who has come through our program looking for a job, they don't all look for jobs, so we can't say 100% employment because sometimes they're just wanting to take it for their own benefit. Everyone who has come through looking for a job has gotten a job out of the program. Most of the time while they're still in the program. And Athena, I'm sad that they're not able to make it, but Athena has been a huge champion of our program. They're literally the biggest one that hires out of our program. There's companies around town that seek us out. They want to hire our students. They want to hire our graduates. They want to connect with us. They come and make presentations. They invite the classes for tours. So there's a lot, word is getting out. So a lot of employers are really looking at our program now that it's starting to grow. So we're really excited about that. And
Yeah,
I'll
no,
put
that's
in,
go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, I'll put in the chat the website if you wanted to learn more about the program or read. It consists of 3 different classes. They start off with print reading for machine trades, and then there's a CNC, basically it's called turning centers, but it's a lathe class, and then the machine centers is a CNC mill. It's very fluid. While sounds like there's three separate classes. Really, it's just a program that covers all three of those things. So it's not like you start one class, finish it, and the next one starts. The curriculum is really fluid, covering all of those subjects.
Oh, that's great. I mean, I think that was going to be one of my questions. How can people learn about accessing more information, but also sort of how to find out what does it take to enroll, and are there specific, qualifications, right? Or
Yeah.
prerequisites and that kind of stuff.
So the cool thing is this is in continuing education. So to enroll, you just sign up and pay. You don't have to have a high school diploma. You don't have to have transcripts. You don't have to do testing, placement testing, the way that you would need to do for a college credit program. And we're looking at expanding it. We haven't done it yet, but we're looking at expanding the curriculum to offer kind of a level two. So picking up, this is entry level. So starting off from the very beginning, and what companies like. And the nice thing here is you can break the tools. You're learning as you go. Like these are machines that we know you might not have experience, and so you're learning as you go. Employers have asked for a more advanced level, where we might hit the 5-axis mill or dive more into geometric dimensioning and tolerancing, which is called GD&T, and also the CMM machine, which is what does that stand for? Computer measuring machine, I think is literally what it's called, a CMM, that they do for quality control tolerancing.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and before we get into the actual training, kind of what it looks like and kind of what you learn, we kind of you gave us uh, an idea of what some of that is, and just the some of the acronyms you're going to have to learn, right? But the what really is interesting is because I know we have kind of workforce solutions involved, and then also Austin Regional Manufacturers Association. When you hear us say ARMA, that's what we're talking about. But is it one of those things where like the manufacturers are like kind of calling on ARMA to do something, or they're all coming to Workforce Solutions and saying, we have this issue, we have any, how can we address this or do it more effectively? Um, but was it again the employers reaching out? Is it something that you just saw in the data? Well, we have all these positions and that are going vacant or unfilled, and how do we step in? And so I don't know if Amber or Ashley, you have kind of an idea of process wise how it worked, or because I know you work very closely with Arma, so I'm sure this is one of many issues that you discuss, related to advanced manufacturing. But any insights into that? Just kind of, it's interesting how some of these things that fill a gap, right, come together and are able to do so, right, through this collaborative process.
Yeah, definitely. We try to be very employer-led and employer-driven in making decisions of what types of new programs should we pursue, like building out what that looks like, especially to help guarantee those employment outcomes. We want to make sure that there is demand for those positions before, recruiting cohorts of people to train in things. Um, Really, I want to say, so I helped start and build and convene the CNC machine operator apprenticeship. Like Ashley mentioned, we had a grant, so it was an opportunity for us to think
Mm.
about how do we build this out as an earn and learn, to help fill that need that employers were expressing. Um, at the time, Chris Bernhardt, I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with him, but he was with Grant Associates, working with us as a consultant to help strengthen our manufacturing partnership alongside ARMA. And he really started hearing it as he was having one-on-one employer meetings, even at like the ARMA golf tournament, of that CNC need. So from multiple voices coming up, it wasn't necessarily popping up as much in the data. Assemblers really comes up, or
Mm.
technicians really comes up in the labor market information, which is why we look at leaning into our regional employers to validate, like, what is this accurate? What else are you seeing? And there might be a high need in one area, but there might be a steady talent pipeline in that, that it makes it less of a hard to fill job. Not to saying those roles aren't hard to fill, they are, and we've taken strategies to build out programs like the Certified Production Technician or the AMP, Applied Manufacturing Program. to be able to support those roles. But CNC, like Ashley mentioned, didn't have anything, a local close to home program that employers could tap into for a talent pipeline. So it became a hard to fill job. So although it wasn't popping up at the top of the list in labor market data, it being that hard to fill area made it a little bit more of a priority for the companies we're working with. So it gave us the opportunity to build out this new training program. We went with it as an apprenticeship model, mostly because it gave us the opportunity to like pilot and develop it with our grant funding. As Ashley mentioned, we have two kind of opportunities now in the way that we're seeing this program. So the open enrollment students, they're able to enter into this program and take it as a traditional class, not necessarily earn and learn, but still giving them the skills needed for them to gain employment once they complete. And then the apprenticeship opportunity, really combining that work experience, the hands-on on the job training component, but with the requirement of them being hired on by a participating company, employed as an apprentice. That's a critical component for the apprenticeship model. So a lot of our employers, have provided feedback in terms of being able to take on apprentices at one time, or having a preference of just hiring them once they complete that education and training. So we've been pivoting towards how do we make sure that we're offering this talent pipeline both through the traditional route and the apprenticeship route for people to be able to participate into. We've slowly started rolling out, processes for open enrollment students to submit their resumes to be considered hired on as an apprentice with our participating employers. And this year, we're really focused on getting new companies to know that this program exists, like Ashley mentioned, knowing that they can utilize it as an apprenticeship, as an earn and learn model, or even hiring from the graduates once they complete.
Yeah, it's exciting to kind of see kind of how it became sort of an issue, an opportunity or something that was on the radar, right? But also, um, when we talk about apprenticeships, and we would love to be there to be more apprentices, right? Apprenticeships, but it's always well, who's paying the salary, right? Or the income, for the apprenticeship participants. And I assume that comes from the employer. Is that kind of how the model works? If it is a paid apprenticeship, then it comes. Okay.
Yes, yeah, the employers pay the wages of the apprentices. Really, that allows them, they're hiring them as an employee. They're committing to this individual as an employee, as an apprentice. You had asked earlier about like the wages that we see. I think on average we're around $18 to $20 per hour, from the apprentices that have participated in the past. Sometimes they go up a little higher based on past experience or education, but that's usually around the starting point that we see for our apprentices. But yes, our employers usually take on that on the job wage component, and mentorship with their apprentices.
And do they, because I know you have the open enrollment, that's kind of exciting. I had kind of heard that you have the open enrollment of someone who's might see themselves, right, as serving or being in that career field. But in terms of the paid apprenticeships, does that go through the company, or you know what I mean, in terms of like how do you get signed on for the paid apprentice part of the training versus the open enrollment part? Because again, you do have that you're an employee, of a company that's being trained versus just someone who's trying to kind of through the workforce development process, right, open a door of opportunity for themselves.
Yeah, so once they submit their interest for the open enrollment program, Ashley lets them know that the apprenticeship opportunity is available if they are hired and selected by one of the participating companies. They can provide their resume, they submit their resume to be considered as an apprentice at that point, if that's the option that they
Mm.
want to take. From there, we're coordinating with ARMA, Alexis Flores, our workforce development director with ARMA. She sends that resume out to the employers that are participating in the apprenticeship program to determine if they want to interview and hire and take on that apprentice, if that's something the company is able to do when we start this program. So we do run those cohorts January and July. And like I said, we're looking to get more employers to participate. I think one of the things we've seen is companies will have a high need, but that doesn't always mean that they're able to take on training a new person, like 5 at a time. Normally it's about 1 at a time. So us being able to expand with new companies utilizing it gives us more opportunity to share with those open enrollment students to enroll. So I think we've had 3 companies sign on that have used the program. We have about 5 or 6 companies that have signed on to the apprenticeship but haven't been able to make those adjustments in their own work schedules to be able to implement it. But we're looking for ways to adjust and support those businesses as well.
Great. Well, thank you for the insights. I mean, maybe it's a little inside baseball, but I do think it's important for I think for us to kind of know if there is another need or an area kind of hard to fill, sort of employment opportunities, as you mentioned, whether they are the one with the most opportunities or not. What does it take to really kind of be creative and to fill a need or fill a void? And because I do think it's I mean, one thing I was going to ask is if before we kind of get into the actual training itself and how that works is, I mean, is it your sense that this has accelerated how quickly people get trained, right, to be CNC machinists? Because I assume a lot of it might have been, well, you mentioned TSDC, but is a lot of it also the employer also trying to figure out how do we get the people trained in for this particular job opportunity, right, or function or role within our company. But is there any way of kind of knowing, is it going faster, or is it? I assume it's kind of streamlined in the sense that you're creating kind of a pool of folks who are trained that people can then draw from that pool. So that I think that's probably helpful to the private companies, right, to the employers, right, on some level.
Yeah, I think the idea is employers are wanting to hire out of our pool. The problem, not problem, is these students are hired before they graduate. So we really don't have people who graduated this program looking for employment. They get it. So we don't have, as much as I know employers would love to have this pool of recent grads, they're all hired by the time they graduate. So, and I see Daniel, Daniel's the instructor for the program. If that's the Daniel that I see on here, he just joined this meeting, so he can speak to specifics about the program or about student experiences or about who's hiring. I know Amber mentioned that there's been 3 companies. We've worked with OneSource, Athena, mostly Athena, and then Glimco have been the companies that have sent their apprentices to us. But Daniel has, throughout the semester, people are constantly reaching out to him. He has a lot of contacts in the manufacturing world. So he has companies that aren't even a part of ARMA who come out and make presentations hoping to hire the students. I will say we have had and have through ARMA and Workforce Solutions grant funding that will cover the apprentices. If you are a registered apprentice, if you get hired on before the program starts, they'll cover your tuition. But we also have Skills for Small Business. Skills for Small Business has a grant that will cover if you're a small business, more than 2 people, less than 100 people, so 2 to 99 people. They have a grant that will cover training at a community college. And individually, if students fill out the TPEG, or I'm sorry, the FAFSA and qualify for financial aid, they may qualify for the TPEG grant, which would cover the tuition as well. That's the Texas Public Education Grant. So several ways that it could be funded that don't necessarily have to be out of pocket. And I know I mentioned it before, but we really encourage people to go through Dulce's Skill Point Alliance program as what we consider a pre-apprenticeship. If you go through that, your resume is going to look a lot better as you're trying to get a job before you start the apprenticeship program, because you'll have experience. Dulce can speak to it, but they get Haas and OSHA certification in that program before they even start our program.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
that's exactly where I was going, right? As we kind
Yay.
of transition to kind of the training aspect, and I know Skill Point is just does some amazing work, right? To provide some of this training in a very efficient way, but in a very important kind of filling a very important need in the process, right? You know, for folks who maybe are new to um, just kind of earn and learn opportunities. So again, I think Dulce, yeah, welcome again. Thank you for being with us, and really, if you can talk about sort of your piece of the training, um, which again we've kind of been referred to it pre-apprenticeship, but how do you refer to it, and how does this differ to what um, they might be getting at ACC, right? You know, the kind of training they get at when they enroll in the actual program itself, and then we'll transition to Daniel and Ashley and whoever can fill us in. Well, what does it look like once they get to ACC, whether they have this pre-apprenticeship piece or not? Right? But first to Dulce, and then we'll kind of transition to what does it look like over at ACC when you're trying to go through this uh, educational opportunities. So go ahead, Dulce.
Hi, everybody. So SkillPoint Alliance offers a free, fast 5-week manufacturing technician training program here in Austin, but also in New Braunfels. Raul, earlier you asked, what is even a CNC machinist? That's where SkillPoint starts. Like, what is manufacturing? It's all about using raw goods to make a finished product or introducing them to the CNC machinist career, which is making precision-made metal parts. So whether students are barely about to start their career in the manufacturing industry or are waiting to start their CNC apprenticeship, SkillPoint is a good, strong foundation and starting point. We offer classes all year round. So all applicants need to do is apply online at skillpointalliance.org. I will say our program is pre-apprenticeship. Like I mentioned again, our approach is intentionally introductory. Students are introduced to multiple career pathways, including roles as a machine operator, machinist, and others. Students do receive some basic CNC mill training with us, which gives them an entry-level understanding of that role. We also connect students to local machine shops, allowing them to learn directly from industry professionals. So our pre-apprenticeship allows students to make an informed decision whether they want to pursue CNC machining or another manufacturing pathway. For our students that do want to further specialize in CNC, we do provide that career guidance and referrals to ACC.
Well, thank you, Dulce. And how long has SkillPoint been around now?
Good question. We started in 1994 when the Austin airport was being built. At that point, there wasn't enough people in the skilled trades. So that's always been our model, free, fast training. Yes, we still do skilled trades, but actually in 2020, we realized, hey, there's a lot of manufacturers here in Central Texas, and that number keeps growing. So in 2020, we started our manufacturing technician training.
Well, thank you for the work that you do. And again, thanks for helping us out today. Kind of see your kind of piece of the puzzle of kind of what it takes to build like a program that's meeting local needs and provide opening doors of economic opportunity. And sometimes you need that, you know what I mean, that first step, right? That's going to help you on your journey. And so thanks for being that in a variety of fields, right? Not just CNC machinists, but um, Professor Smith, thanks for joining us. I know you just came back from being in the classroom, right, with a cohort of students or participants, right, who are interested in this field, and actually kind of gave us a little overview of sort of the different prongs of training, right, or skills that you try to develop, right, in folks who choose to pursue, this avenue of CNC machinist. But kind of as the instructor, right, what are you what do you focus on, right, in terms of the training and the skills that you're we're trying to develop for folks interested in this opportunity? And again, what has your experience just been? As I assume you've been through a few cycles of this training already, and what have you heard from folks who have kind of gone through it about how things are going once
I
they kind
believe
of go into the working world, right?
I believe this is our fourth or fifth class we've had. We have been able to, so start to finish, we train them from entry level. We teach them blueprinting, all the basic hand tool measuring. We teach them how to set up the machines, run the machines, verify, check their parts, edit G code, pretty much start to finish for an entry level operator position. When they walk out of here, they should be proficient to walk up to any CNC machine, load a program, run a part, inspect their own part, get everything ready for first article inspection as you would in a real machine shop. So what we're finding is I have been taking a lot of feedback from the students, especially ones that are already working in the field. So over the last couple of semesters, we've kind of added that into a lot of the class stuff to kind of see what they're really doing out there in the field. And we've had great success doing that. With that kind of being able to pivot like that, we're able to take input from the companies that are hiring our students and I'll bring that stuff into the classroom. So when they leave out of here, they're proficient to go right into a job. We've placed about 80% of all students that want a job have a job. I have more job openings than I have students wanting to work. So there's just with the relations and the local shops we work with between ARMA, Athena Manufacturing, Specialty Machining, Glemco. We've got a couple of other companies that have reached out to us. We have so many positions and so many people looking for people in this field, as well as welding, sheet metal, and some of the other fields. So we kind of help, even if this is not their end goal, it's a great place to start. Because even like an engineering role, if you understand the machining concept of it, you're going to design your parts better. So from this point, some go into machine shops, some go into inspection, some may continue their education into an engineering role. I have a lot of my students that will transition from this over to the CAD CAM and maybe start taking some CAD or CAM classes, whether that be the 1426 Intro to Master CAM, or go take one of the SolidWorks classes or Inventor classes or one of the other CAD classes, because they leave here thirsty for more knowledge. So we've had really good success. Pretty much anybody who's wanted a job, we've got them hired before they even graduate.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And it's great to, again, one of the reasons that we wanted to do these forums is to like highlight opportunities that are out there and not just jump to, we need more opportunities, but we first need to take advantage of the opportunities that already exist, right? And then once we have like a wait list of folks, we can say, not, hey, we need more opportunities because look at the demand, right? And we're growing the demand. And I think thank you for creating that opportunity in a way I think that's efficient for um, for ACC as an institution, but also for the employers as well, because again, it is kind of filling a kind of a vacuum of sorts, right, that existed. And I think Ashley did mention that you had just started last week with a new cohort, just in time for a 4 or 5 day shutdown, right? Um, and she mentioned that it kind of lasts around 6 months, right, or through June, right? And which is again, it's amazing to think, right? That if you start something in January and June, you'll kind of be in a place hopefully where you have what you're going to be doing once you finish this training program, or maybe you're even starting learning about, right, a particular company, or being integrated into the work of a particular company even before you finish those 6 months. So that's really exciting. One thing I was going to ask about your training is, and I think you alluded to it a little bit, but is there any training at the job site that occurs, and sort of what does that entail? Or is it a big component? Is it just one of those things where you go and look at, the work sites and where you'd be working and what you'd be doing? Or is it more kind of
So
hands-on?
those that are those that are in the field, I kind of ask them kind of what they're doing and kind of help guide them in that direction and kind of the directions they may want to be. Because maybe not everybody wants to be an operator. Some want to be programmers. Some want to be setup people. Some maybe this is just a stepping stone for a CAD career. So we try to feel out each student for where they want to be in, what their future 5-year plan is, 10-year plan is, and kind of like cater each one to where they want to go to their next step beyond this. So what I'm hearing, a lot of feedback I'm getting from those that do go off into the work field, like Athena and whatnot. They're having great results. They're walking in, jumping right on high-tech machines, 5-axis machines, and they're already working their way up the ladder much faster than you would if just going in as an entry, bottom entry-level position.
And I'd add the apprentices, the ones that are going through the registered program, they do have a little more structure for their on-the-job training. They have to complete competencies as they go through at the work site. So the employers are responsible of keeping track of those and having them completed. And when we built the program, we did it very closely of, like Ashley said, it's pretty fluid going through it, but we wanted to make sure, the classroom training matched kind of what they were doing on the job as well. So you get that concise training and preparation for the job.
Yeah, everything that we have in this course was we were building out the curriculum was advised from ARMA, from industry. They told us what we needed and we built the curriculum around that. So this is a very specific course that meets industry needs. And I also wanted to say one thing that I've loved seeing, I obviously don't teach CNC, that's Daniel, but we do a big graduation ceremony at the end of every cohort where we do breakfast tacos and they invite their family. I love seeing what a close-knit family they become after the 6-month program. And the stories that I've heard from these guys and gals is that one person will go for an interview and they come back and tell the rest of the class and they're like, man, they're hiring more. So like they're creating their own networking community within the class. And I think that's really how a lot of people get hired. And Daniel has an teaching assistant in the class. The teaching assistants have been graduates of our program. Weirdly, both of them have both worked for ARMA. I wish they were here. They're just such a big champion of this program. We've hired former students to assist in helping Daniel. He does the teaching, but they're helping with the machines, for safety and just to help out. We were going to hire another one. We did hire him, but hopefully if we get this new cohort going, there'll be a new person coming on and he's really excited. I think Daniel, is he the one that is working on the 5-axis mill already after just a few months at Athena? Yep. And so he's excited to help develop curriculum and, inform us on what that level 2 is going to look like.
And by about midpoint in the class, he had gotten a job over at Athena and they put him right on a 5-axis. Wow. And he's mastered the 5-axis already, which is very impressive.
It's exciting to hear their stories when they go through the program.
And then I keep in touch with them. A lot of them will email me back, very excited about their job that they got or asking questions. So I still keep in touch with a lot of them just to kind of keep up and see how they're doing, see where they're at now. I do stress about that unity amongst the machine shops because you are going to cross over people in your career. So we try to keep it a nice knit group of students that they kind of learn from each other too, which is, I encourage a lot of that peer learning because you're going to get a lot of that in the real work environment as well.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, a different angle or a different issue we're focused on at CAN this year is sort of the power and potential of social capital, right? As a means to kind of open doors of opportunity, right? And but that's part of our building community forum series and not expanding opportunity. But maybe we'll do a crossover. Sometimes people in podcasts do that where they're like, it's one episode for 2 different podcasts. But that's great. Thanks for sharing that. I hadn't thought of kind of that angle again. But when you have a kind of a cohort of anything, you do have that shared experience, right? And you kind of have that bonding and you have the relationships and people that you trust. Obviously you gravitate to some people more than others, right? But it is an exciting aspect of it, kind of creating community amongst the trainees or the students. But I was interested a little bit in your story, Professor, about because I know you were working as a machinist for many years, but now you're teaching at ACC. And so, anything again you could share about sort of why you're doing that, and just kind of why you're so passionate about this career, and so much so that you're actually trying to teach people how to do it.
So I've been in this for a long time. I was a military machinist from 91 to 95. I went to a technical trade high school before that for welding. So graduated in 91. So I've been in the metal trade field for a long time. Grew up in a hot rod shop, started welding as a kid, building stuff, went into a trade high school for welding. Went in the military from there as a machinist, wanted to learn machining. Came up to Austin in 95 and kind of worked all over Austin. Every kind of shop imaginable, open air shops, manual shops, CNC shops. Back then, it was a lot harder to learn and work your way up. There wasn't official programs like this. So a lot of it was being nice to the machinist or the programmer, asking them questions. So having a structured program like this, it's amazing to be able to take students and train them in a real training facility and then put them in a work environment. So that's kind of where I get that passion from. I did it the hard way, begging and pleading everybody to show me this piece of equipment, teach me this software, do that, and to have a structured version of that you can condense down and put somebody into a shop that has all that knowledge, basically trying to wrap up 30 years of little bits and pieces of knowledge I've picked up in all my decades, and cram it into a 6-month course. So not only do we cover the material, but we cover basic shop ethic, cleanliness, how to leave machines for the next person, shift changing type operations, how to stay up on top of materials, make sure you always have the right supplies you need, how to check before you go to run a part to make sure you have the supplies you need ahead of time. So it's more than just a machining concept. We're trying to push the whole gauntlet of every bit of it, from the aspect of ordering materials, making sure you have materials, tooling, to cleaning your own machine. We tear down machines, we clean them, we PM them, we do preventive maintenance, all the things that you would really do in a real shop. So it's more than just the CNC or just the CAD or just the setting up the machine. They're learning the entire machining experience. At least
Yeah, well,
that's
I
what
love that you spoke to kind of how this can lead to other training opportunities and other kind of employment opportunities if this isn't like the end goal for them, that it's a great foundation for other avenues that they might pursue for the economic advancement, and that learning some of these skills for how to navigate these work sites, right? Then it's going to help you, right? Even in those other opportunities. So that's super exciting, and I love when folks come back like Ashley did as a ACC student, came back and working for ACC, and yourself kind of doing what you do, because I think helping people navigate, right, and demystify some of these professions and opportunities is such an important piece of the puzzle, or an important in getting people to see that I can do this, right, and understand I can do this, and I don't have to figure it out, like the experience you were talking about, where it's like you're just kind of uh, scratching and crawling, and and getting um, developing your own relationships, right? To the degree that those folks either liked you enough that they helped you, or said, "Let me just help this guy so he'll stop bothering me," right? But it's kind of again, I think a lot of relationships, relationship building and trust building is kind of underrated, right? When we're talking about career development or workforce development, but just amazing, I think, for y'all to kind of bring those aspects kind of into the training program, and if folks have any questions, please put them in the chat, right? And we'll have our panelists address them. But is there any final comments? Obviously, we're going to transition to the employer perspective. But Athena couldn't be with us after all at the last, there was a last minute conflict, but we will speak with them and then kind of have their experience combined with the expertise y'all have shared, right? When we send out the video. But any final thoughts of what y'all would want to share, just in terms of sort of how to sign up or sort of what's involved, how hard it is to kind of get plugged in, and anything like that that would help someone like realize that this is something for them, and how can I actually get after it, right? How can I make this happen, for me?
I would say because this is in continuing education, I mentioned it earlier, it is very easy to get signed up. I put in my contact information. I've put a website to the CNC technician training program where you can learn more information. I put my contact, my email, and my phone number, and I just attached a flyer about it as well that you could read or share. But since it's in continuing ed, super easy to register. There's not a lot of hoops as there are like there are in college credit. Um, yeah. So, and Daniel, I don't know if this would be appropriate or not, but I think Daniel's sitting in the lab. He could turn his camera around and you could see the lab and the equipment. It's a pretty impressive. We're at Highland campus and it is a pretty impressive lab. We're
Wow.
always looking to get people here, so we welcome, if it would be helpful to host an event here, host a luncheon or something. We're always excited to get people into the lab because it's pretty impressive to see. If you can see his camera, he's walking in there right now. So
Wow,
this is
that's
the
pretty.
AMP Lab, Advanced Manufacturing and Prototyping. There are 7 mini mills in there. Those are Haas mini mills, and those are what the students are doing. They're spending their whole time a little bit in the classroom, but mostly in this lab right here with these mini mills. And then if you've ever been to the ACC Highland campus, um, if you've been to the Impact Lab, we share the Impact Lab. So students are
Mm.
half in the AMP Lab right here, and then there's a giant garage door that opens up, and then you walk right into the Impact Lab, and that's where the 5-axis mill is. That's where the CNC lathe is, our lathes. So there's that garage door. So I don't know if that's
Wow, that's
helpful to see it, but we welcome you
yeah.
guys to come. I love
That's
giving
a
tours.
I'm getting over there. Hold on.
He's opening the garage
Well,
door.
that's amazing. Who knew we were going to get a tour
A
of the
tour.
actual training facility during the forum?
So that,
That's
but
amazing. I mean,
he's at right there
good
is,
thing you all bought ACC bought an old mall, that
yeah.
has enough space and roof, you know.
It's a beautiful campus, what they've done with it and our space in particular. This is highlighted if you were to walk up one of the entrance to building 2000. This is on the corner where the windows, people are peeking in. They're like looking through. We ended up having to put a poster on the window to say, hey, this is a CNC program. If you want to learn more, scan the QR code. It's a beautiful lab. It's a beautiful space, and
Yeah,
which is
I
weird
was
to say
just there.
for machining.
I was just there this morning on the other side of the 2000 building for a family sustaining wage
Yeah,
summit, right? And so I didn't know this was just
yeah.
across the
So
breezeway there. So
yeah,
that's pretty
literally.
amazing.
Thanks,
And we do
Daniel,
have
for
a
that.
question in the chat about how does the program support reducing barriers to ensure students are able to complete and become successful? Like, kind of how do you support students through the process, right? The training process. And any I know you said you have a good track record, in terms of folks who want employment, yeah, be in place. But any thoughts on that, just in terms of
I
you
think
know,
one great thing that we do in this program, and Daniel really took charge and started doing this, is he by the time you get to the end of the program, he pulls in career services here at ACC, and they work with you on writing a resume. They work with you on interview skills. So career services is actually a part of the curriculum now. It's a regular part. They meet, they come out and make a presentation, and then they offer hours where students can come and work on that because a lot of people aren't confident in how to sell themselves maybe, or they're not don't know, don't have a polished resume. I know Amber with Workforce Solutions, they also offer resume writing classes as well. So we always encourage students who, if they haven't started our program, and they're just wanting to send us their resume to hopefully get a position as an apprentice before they start our program. We point them to Amber in whatever resume workshops she might have, or not her personally, but Workforce Solutions. And then while they're in the program, we support students with that. So it's very hands-on. It's very, yep.
I actually went by Career Services yesterday, and we're going to set up for the class to come visit them. So we like to get them started on their resumes early so they can start adding to it. That way they can kind of start realizing how to build a resume, the proper way to have the resume formatted in today's standards with these new AI search engine generation. They even reworked mine because it was so old-fashioned. So it was nice. It's a nice option for them to have. And it helps them kind of get in that pre-resume, pre-interview kind of mindset where they're already starting to think about what should I put on a resume? What should I highlight in my career? And then they can build upon that as they go.
And I'll add to it. We actually do have a student success coordinator while the students are enrolled with us for each of our classes. That way, if barriers do come up like childcare or transportation, we're connected with community resources, including Workforce Solutions, so we can address those barriers while they're in class with us, and they can be workforce ready by the time they're done with us, or if they continue their education too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
and
sir. Yeah, go ahead.
I would just add if they're able to secure one of those spots as an apprentice, they're getting currently grant support to help cover the tuition cost of the classroom training, which really helps people be able to focus and not have to worry about that expense, as well as earning while they're learning on the job site with that employer as an apprentice. That's one of the reasons why we want to be able to grow it as the apprenticeship model with more employers participating and being able to hire and take on apprentices. It's a little slow to get that momentum and like the scale, but it is something we're actively working towards in partnership with ARMA and our other employers in the region. And then eventually too, in the same way, like Dulce mentioned, being able to provide like additional wraparound supports, layering on top other scholarships or community-based organization supports to programs like this where we're seeing high demand and need for our employers, I think is critical. So lots of layers to make sure we're seeing success. But our traditional students, like Ashley and Daniel mentioned, are getting a lot of support even just with ACC, with the resumes, and ACC's building out a lot of additional resources, their food pantries, things like that, so that they're serving their students. So that's really incredible to see. And having it be kind of a smaller cohort, I know that they get a little bit more of that attention. Daniel even talking about following his students after they complete to make sure, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, where are you at? That's really beneficial to see success of these programs.
Well, that's super exciting, and I know Skill Point and Capital ID and Workforce Solutions do have some of those wraparound supports, like for individuals, right, seeking these workforce development opportunities. But I think it's kind of exciting to kind of for me see this public and private coming together, right, to create kind of this great opportunity, because when public and private partnerships or collaboratives work, they don't get a lot of attention. It's when there isn't alignment and there isn't coordination that that gets the headline, right? But so thank you for showing public and private partnerships that can work. All right, well, welcome back. As promised, we're back with our employer profile for our expanding opportunity, kind of highlighting earn and learn opportunities in advanced manufacturing. And specifically, as we just heard, we are focused on the CNC machinist apprenticeship opportunity. And we learned a little bit about what that means and what the training involves. But we wanted to get from the employer side sort of what how does this fit into the way they approach filling their workforce needs, and also again anything they want to share about how it fits into their overall strategy, right? For getting to where they want to be as as a company. And so with us today, I'm very excited to introduce Michael Hernandez with Athena, who's the Director of Human Resources and Training. And he's a senior HR and workforce leader with deep experience supporting advanced manufacturing organizations through growth and transformation and operational complexity. He leads human resources and training initiatives with a strong operational focus, partnering closely with manufacturing and leadership to align workforce strategy with production realities. He has played a key role in building sustainable talent pipelines, which we're going to get into, right, with this particular program that we're focused on. And Michael is viewed as a positive and transparent leader who does the work alongside teams to earn trust and respect. And he brings a practical, people-centered perspective to manufacturing workforce challenges, advocating for investment in leadership, culture, and clear pathways to success as the foundation for sustainable growth. And I could go on and on, right? I mean, I think it appreciate kind of you lending your expertise and taking time away from the important work you have to do day in and day out. But we feel that it's important to kind of let people know about this best kept secret, which are these apprenticeship programs, right? These earn and learn opportunities, and just kind of how easy or hard they are to develop and manage, and again, just how they can help employers with their overall, workforce strategy. We're going to build, as I said before, on what Ashley with ACC, Amber with Workforce Solutions, and Dulce with Steel Point Alliance shared about the need for developing the CNC Machinist program at ACC, as well as the process by which it was developed. It involved quite a few entities, right? Public and private. We also heard from Professor David Smith, who also discussed the curriculum that they utilize in the classroom, as well as the what students can expect, right, when they are in the program, and what they can expect after the program. And of course, we heard about very successful placement rate, right, for participants in that training program who seek to work as CNC or as machinists. But thanks again, Michael, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Again, no, it's a busy time, and we all kind of fell behind when we had our what we call a winter storm last week, but others might laugh at us for calling it that. But first, just tell us a little bit about yourself, anything you'd like to add about your background, and what brought you to this company and this position.
Yeah, I've been in the Austin market for over 20 years, primarily in manufacturing. So I've been uniquely positioned to kind of see the market grow, as well as some of these new programs come to fruition. I've been with Athena for just over 2 years, leading HR and training. I actually joined Athena to support a previous executive that I worked with at another company. But shortly after I joined, he found another position and left me here to build on all of the great work that they had started. Athena has been very involved in workforce development, specifically to the ACC program that you've mentioned. We were one of the industry partners that helped build that. And we continue those relationships today because we know how important it is to, one, to be a part of the conversation, because we have been around for 25 years. We've done something right in order for us to still be functioning in such a tight and competitive market. So I think our legacy really is built on, helping identify not even just curriculum, but pathways for people that want to be part of manufacturing who don't really maybe understand what it is. We want to help expose them to what manufacturing is, especially in the Central Texas market, and provide education on why this is still such a booming career opportunity.
Yeah, no, awesome. I think it's amazing when we learn about these entities that have kind of been fixtures, right, in our local community, but you don't know about them as much as we should, because you kind of quietly go about your business and doing the things that need to get done. And so congratulations on that. But maybe if you could tell us a little bit about, you know, what Athena does, right? What do you produce? Obviously, it involves machining or machinists, and and sort of how is that industry right now? I mean, maybe over the last 5 years, we know COVID happened, right? So how did that affect y'all? And then how was your trajectory for that industry more generally before we get into the specific job opportunity? How are things looking for y'all?
Absolutely. So Athena Manufacturing is a precision machine shop. We do fabrication, integration, machining, engineering for many different verticals, semiconductor, contract manufacturing, Department of Defense. We've got a pretty strong portfolio. Like I said, we've been in the Austin market for 25 years, locally owned and operated, which I think is also extremely important to mention. We are in a very competitive market, especially in this area. Austin continues to grow when it comes to manufacturing, especially when it comes to similar companies exactly like Athena. So, what's really nice about it is it's bringing additional talent, and it also is bringing opportunities for small companies to be successful. We've been doing pretty well, but we do expect probably a 20 to 30% increase in 2026 over 2025. 2025 was a really good year for us as well, but we expect 2026 to be, top notch. We want to put out quality parts. We want to employ quality people who are quality mindset, and we want to continue being a part of the discussion in the central market workplace.
Oh, excellent. I mean, it's I think it's I'm always interested just because things changed right after, the pandemic or during the pandemic. And then after the pandemic, we look at a lot of data around community well-being, right? So it's kind of interesting to see what was happening before 2020, what was happening in those couple of years at the beginning of the pandemic and sort of where we are now. And I do think opening doors of opportunity, right, continue, for as many people in our community as possible continues to be a big need, and we appreciate
Absolutely.
y'all being kind of hands-on with, working with Austin Regional Manufacturers Association and with educational and workforce training groups, right? Because again, that's where we, I think, build the best pathways, right, for success. And I guess in terms of well, before we get into the specifically CNC machinists, kind of what they do and kind of how much of a need you have for more of those kind of machinists. But I know when we spoke earlier, you talked about there are other kind of sort of jobs or careers that you all have besides, right, this that one, and then and that you all have created your own certification programs. And so I don't know if you could talk a little bit about, obviously I hate to just kind of go straight into CNC machinists because that might not be like a broad enough view of kind of what you all do day to day. Just to paint a picture of how that has helped y'all and be able to not just fill that need, but because hopefully it's easier to fill those positions, and that makes it easier to build other parts of the organization in the way y'all want to.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been extremely connected with schools in the area as well as ACC as we've continued to develop our training programs. We are very excited to have Elgin ISD or Elgin High School as a part of that program. We've been working with them for about 5 years. And what we do is we create intern opportunities for seniors of Elgin High School that are a part of the welding program. And they come out here. They use what they have learned at school at Elgin, but they also do a dual pathway at ACC for welding. And then they come in put it to practical use here. So that program allows them to get their high school diploma, get an associate's from ACC, and if they make it successfully through the program, an opportunity for a career at Athena Manufacturing. So we've been working with them for 5 years, and we've produced some amazing welders. Not only does it give them an opportunity to be exposed to manufacturing, but these career opportunities, whether it be welding or machining, can be very lucrative opportunities for young minds to start their career path on. And what's awesome about it is they obviously can take that education anywhere, right? So they learn from Elgin High School, they learn from a phenomenal educational institution like ACC, and then they come to a precision shop like Athena. They do well, and maybe they stay with us, or maybe they take that talent to another, manufacturing facility here in Austin, or maybe they go somewhere completely different. And that's one of the things that I like to share with them when we're talking about exposing them to manufacturing, is whether it be a traditional, post-secondary opportunity, or whether it be training through, a program like Athena offers, the education is yours to take. You add it to your resume, it's yours, it's your knowledge, it's what you design it to be after you receive that education, right? You can stay here and be close to home, or you could travel the world and utilize your skills wherever you'd like to. So that's a program that we've been doing for 5 years that's been very successful. We've expanded on that to other cities in the area. So we've expanded into Pflugerville and Round Rock. We have students from their high schools who also come and do similar programs here in welding. And we also just recently launched a DOL approved apprenticeship program on the CNC machining side. We've been working with ACC since they started their advanced machining program. We were one of the industry partners. It's a phenomenal way for individuals who have the aptitude for machining to really receive continued education so that they can further their career. And we want to continue that partnership, but we also looked at it as another way for Athena to offer training in-house, right? What better way to build your pipeline, or to build the investment from the employee, right? When they become invested and we are invested, everybody wins. And one of the ways to do that is to provide education. Everybody wants to learn, everybody wants to do better. Once again, it's education you can take anywhere with you. So we went through the process, which was pretty lengthy to get through the paperwork to become Department of Labor approved for an apprenticeship program. But we did the work, we put it into practice, and now we have dual opportunities. Now we can either utilize the ACC machining program if we're strapped for resources or space, but we can also take that training in-house. So we can do entry level, no experience, and train them to be very successful operators, or we can bring somebody in who has some experience, but we'd prefer to train them on our machines with our procedures and our methodology, and we can get them through that program as well in-house versus having to look external for the resources, or have to pay. For those programs can become quite costly if you're sending people consistently and you've got a large group of people going. We wanted to kind of mitigate some of that. We're a small business, so every dollar is important, and training is extremely important. So being able to do it in-house was really important as well to us.
Yeah, I think investment at the front end, I think it pays dividends, right?
Absolutely.
In the long term, right? So
yeah, there's
and I know when we spoke,
drive morale, and education is one of those things that really drives morale. When you show an employee that you're invested in making them better, they generally will return that same investment.
Yeah, we the other thing you had mentioned, and I don't know if this goes back to what you already the P-Tech sort of programs that y'all are connected with. I don't know if that's the same thing we were talking about the welding, or if there's even other aspects of P-Tech, which is a high school-based program, right?
Yeah, so the Elgin P-Tech program is welding specific. So we've been with them for about 5 years. The Pflugerville program we have is currently geared towards welding. Our Round Rock program that we just launched is actually focused on CNC machining. So Round Rock has created a pathway that is construction related and has some components of machining and metalwork in it. And so we have partnered with their Cedar Ridge High School to have some of their students come out and go through our CNC apprenticeship program at Athena.
Yeah, I remember when, say maybe more than 10 years ago, they started talking about kind of these P-Tech programs locally. I mean, other folks may have had them. But now that there's so many schools that kind of have these, and it's just exciting to, again, see the innovation in the way people approach preparing our workforce, whether it's students or adults in the workforce, right? For success, right? And help in meeting their workforce or their career goals.
Yeah, and what's really nice about these P-Tech programs for most instances, they're focusing on exposure much earlier than the internship would begin. So, for instance, our current program with Elgin, the students can't actually start working here until their senior year, but we start exposure in eighth grade. So they're coming out to the facility, they're doing tours, they're meeting members of the leadership team, they're seeing people that they recognize because they've gone to school with them here at work and seeing them, do good work, and some of them have been here 3 or 4 years. So it really does show what the program can offer. And then what we also do when they become juniors, they start coming out for specific exposure. So they'll come out, they come out on Fridays once a month, and they meet with a leader from a different business unit. So it may be HR, it may be quality, it may be engineering, it could be operations, program management, because there's so many other components to manufacturing than just the tools and hands-on components. There's the business side. So we want them to see that this opportunity is not just welding, it's not just machining. It really does open opportunities that they may want to look at later on in life. If they decide to go in an engineering pathway, there's an opportunity here for them to be exposed to engineering and learn from some pretty solid, amazing engineers at Athena. What's also really good about it is it shows them early on what it takes to be successful. I don't know about you, Raul, but for me, when I was in school, the focus was you're going to go post-secondary education, you're going to go to college, and then after college, you'll find a job. Well, they didn't really train me how to be a good employee. They just trained me how to be a good student. And these opportunities, these pathways are offering them the opportunity to be a good student, to be a good learner, but also what does it mean to be a good employee? And I think that's extremely important to their success. The early on exposure, the opportunities to learn, but then also the opportunity to be evaluated not only as a student, but as an employee is extremely valuable.
Yeah, and I think that's where, one thing we had shared was our essential elements of successful CNC, CNC, earn and learn programs. But kind of like the workplace learning, right? Just kind of like being part of a professional environment and how to navigate that and how to
Absolutely.
navigate issues that arise, right, in a professional way if you
Yep.
haven't been exposed to that before. And so I think some of these kind of training initiatives, these earn and learn programs, I think have a lot of elements that others could learn from, right, in terms of
Absolutely.
preparing participants for success, right, with
Yep.
the workforce. And I think you one thing I just wanted to make sure we cover was because I think Professor Smith, who's the ACC instructor, right, mentioned is that they're planning like a CNC Machinist 2.0 training, right, where they can like come back and be trained on kind of higher level sort of machinist type training and technical skills. And how would that? I mean, how does that fit into kind of your is that because that's something that you see as useful and that would help you as as a person who's has to worry about how do we develop our workforce.
Absolutely. We've been an industry partner with ACC since they started the CNC program. And I think what's phenomenal is that they are reaching out to the employers in the area and they're seeking guidance from shops that are needing to find talent. We are the ones that can really help create curriculum or at least create vision on what should be included. And that's very helpful. Rather than just creating a training program that's geared towards machining and we want everybody to be involved. No, it's really focused on machining in this area. What are the industry partners needing? Who are they? How many people are they employing? Are they going to continue to use it? So I think ACC did a great job by including the industry partners. What that did for us is it allowed us to really look at our training as well and say, hey, these are gaps that we can't do here, or we don't have the curriculum, or we don't have the right resources. So it gives us a really strong partnership to say, yeah, I've got a good employee and I'd like them to be a better employer, give them an opportunity to be better. Then we can, engage ACC. What's great, like you mentioned, is taking it to that next level, right? Now that we've done this cohort, I think I think they're on like their fifth or sixth cohort, if I remember correctly. Now it's time, what can we do to improve? And I'm glad that once again, they're reaching out to their industry partners saying, hey, you've been a part of the program. What worked, what didn't work? What do you think we could include to make it better? Because this first rev, if you will, was really geared on identifying the talent that could be a good machinist, right? The people that are really interested in it, getting them into the training, and then finding them jobs, which there are plenty of industry partners in this area that are needing machinists and will continue to need them. Now at the 2.0 mark, it's what are the skills that we can continue to develop? They go in, they learn how to operate a machine, basic setup, basic fixturing, so that they can take a print from a shop like ours and do the basic operations. But we want to be able to not only do basic operations, we want them to really understand the coding and understanding the programming, because that's an automation part that's extremely important. Most shops will employ a machinist and a programmer. So as we continue to build on the machinist education, and we can give them the opportunity and the skill set to learn some of the programming side, really understand different metals, because it does make a difference. Whether the machine is, can run one part or, do volume production, because some of the machines that they'll be learning on at ACC are not heavy volume production machines like we work on in shops here in the Austin area. So that's, how do we get from, 1.0 to 2.0? And that's really the collaboration between ACC. ARMA obviously is a huge force in the Austin area when it comes to manufacturing. Workforce Solutions, all the partners coming together and really saying, how do we make it better for Austin? And I think that's the best approach, right? You could just say, oh, Athena wants a machinist to do X, Y, and Z. But when we've got a broader, network of like-minded individuals that all have a similar problem, it's best, right? In everybody's interest to design a pipeline or a pool that could then foster career opportunities throughout all of Austin. And I think that's probably the biggest impact for what we face in HR is, how do we find the talent? How do we get people that have the skill? Or how do we find the right culture fit? Maybe they don't have the skill set up front, but they're a phenomenal culture fit. And then you have these programs like ACC that we can build those skills upon.
Yeah, it's very, very important. And I know you mentioned earlier that, you work closely with ACC and Workforce Solutions, capital area and rural capital area, and ARMA, right? I think it's been amazing. I think as we've talked about this particular learn opportunity, just to see that collaborative approach and building these relationships and trust between all of the public and private partners, because I think that's very important in terms of being able to communicate the needs and then actually deliver something, develop opportunities that will actually be most useful, right, to each of the public and private partners and the particular role that they play. But in the end, it's for the student, right? The young person going through the education process, or an adult person trying to reskill, right, and advance in their career through these opportunities. And exciting to hear, right, that it's not the end necessarily, right? It's just a stepping stone, and there's still it's a one step along the pathway that could lead to other exciting opportunities with the company they're with, or with another company. But so exciting to learn about these opportunities in more depth, and very much appreciate your time, and learning just about the intentionality and the thoughtfulness of y'all's approach, right? Of helping, not just focusing on the bottom line, but focus on just developing systems, right, that help our community in general, actually be more inclusive, and also provide opportunity in as broad of a way as possible. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you for bringing like-minded people together to cover these topics. It's extremely important that we keep the conversation going, and that industry partners continue to engage with all the resources in the area, so that we can continue to build, continue to grow, and find people that want to be a part of manufacturing. It's only going to get bigger, especially in the Austin market. We've got so many companies that are moving here, and it's a testament to what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a testament to the ACC programs, to programs like Athena Manufacturing, that so many people want to move here because we have so many talented people that want to be a part of manufacturing.
Yeah, it seems like an exciting place to be right now to do
Absolutely.
advanced manufacturing. So glad you all are part of the ecosystem here,
Thank you.
and very excited again just to learn about y'all's philosophy and y'all's work and impact that you're having. And so that concludes our first Expanding Opportunity Forum on Earn and Learn programs. We will have another Expanding Opportunity Forum focused on Earn and Learn programs in skilled trades, looking at electrical certification opportunities, so a little more traditional, right? And we'll be doing that at the end of March. Don't have a date yet. Trying to coordinate with the speakers on the date, but we'll get that information out to folks. But thanks, Michael, for being a part of the inaugural forum, right, to get us kicked off on highlighting what I think are very exciting local opportunities for workforce development, and utilizing these kind of earn and learn opportunities in very exciting and creative ways. So thanks again, and best of luck to you and your company and your family, and all the goals that you're trying to meet, right, in your life. So.
Thank you, Earl. Same to you.